So over the years, we've slowly been converting this area of our garden from raised beds into wicking beds. If you're not familiar with a wicking bed, it's essentially a giant self-watering pot. It has a water reservoir at the bottom, a wicking layer, and then soil on top, usually no deeper than around 30 centimeters. There are a couple of reasons why you might choose a wicking bed. They're incredibly water efficient, they reduce how often you need to water, and they can be a real time saver on that front. The main reason we use them, however, is because this is our best growing area in summer and it is constantly invaded by tree roots from neighbouring trees. We've tried lots of different solutions to keep these tree roots out. We've used root blockers, we've used geofabric. They are very persistent and very invasive, so converting to wicking beds has been the best solution we've found. Having said that, they are not perfect. One thing that we've noticed in our high rainfall climate is that they seem to need more feeding than our regular standard raised beds. Because there's so much water movement through the system, nutrients appear to wash through more quickly, so regular feeding becomes a bit more important. So over the years, I've experimented with several different ways of building wicking beds, both using IBCs. I've retrofitted timber raised beds and lined them with a pond liner. Unfortunately, the pond liner method didn't stand up to our conditions. Something, most likely rats, damaged the liner, and eventually the tree roots did find their way into the reservoir. So before we put this final bed together, I thought I'd show you the different methods we've used and what we've learned from each one. So the first method uses a slotted ag pipe with a sock over it as the reservoir. There's an inlet pipe that feeds directly into that ag pipe and an overflow pipe that I can adjust simply by swiveling it to change the water height. To create the wicking wells in this reservoir, I did use some old pots positioned amongst the ag pipe. In this particular bed, I used terracotta pots, although plastic pots work just as well. So once everything is in place, I fill that reservoir area with a fine gravel to level everything off. In the past, I have used larger gravel, but both have worked pretty well. I do find that the smaller gravel also acts as another layer of wicking. Over the top of that goes a layer of geofabric, followed by about 5 centimeters of sand, which acts as that wicking layer. You could use perlite instead, but sand is quite affordable and readily available and works just as well. I make sure that the sand also fills those pots, being used as little wicking wells. On top of the sand goes another layer of geofabric before finally filling the bed with soil. The soil is probably the most important part, which I'll come back to later. The other really key things are making sure that your soil is not sitting in your water, so making sure that that overflow pipe goes out below the soil level and it is within that either reservoir or wicking level. One downside of using this method is the gravel occupies a lot of space in the reservoir, so that could hold more water. The more empty space you have in your reservoir, the greater water holding capacity and the less often you will need to refill it. The second method I've tried is using some black plastic crates to create the reservoir. So we cut the crate to fit the IBC and then cut openings to create the wells, which were simply lined with some black plastic pots, similar to the first one. Unlike the first system, I didn't add any gravel at all. I simply placed some geofabric straight over the crate and then added that wicking layer directly on top. With this design, I also changed up my overflow. So I used, instead of having it sit in the reservoir, it's actually in the wicking layer. So we used a 30 centimeter rigid riser and we drilled holes into it, then wrapped that in a shade cloth and then screwed that into a tank fitting to create the overflow. And that sand layer completely covers that. Just like before, another layer of geofabric goes on top before adding the soil. The downside of this design is mainly to do with my overflow. I don't actually have the ability to completely drain the tank like the other one, but it's something that could be easily fixed. The upside, the water holding capacity on this has been great. I did have some issues with the first one that I set up this way, and I thought it was to do with the way that the wicking was working, but it turned out it was a soil problem, which I'll come back to at the end of this video. So the third wicking bed that I've created out here was similar to that last one with a crate. It's worked perfect, got the soil spot on. And finally, I'm going to be doing something different. I'm going to be using a commercial wicking well from Waterups. This isn't sponsored. I purchased their pots for our blueberries and I've been really happy with the way that they perform. So I wanted to try their system for the wicking bed. Waterups do make an IBC kit, but it is only 4 cells and you have to add extra media around the outside and keep the tap open. Because of our invasive tree root issues, I wasn't keen on having that tap opens. I've decided to go with the cells and cut them to size. So we're using old IBC tanks that were previously used for our aquaponics system. I just wanted to make use of what we already had, and we are planning on replacing some things that have started to rust. Because we use the metal IBC bases in the aquaponics setup, the tank itself is actually sitting directly on the ground for these wicking beds. Ideally, you'd level the area with some crusher dust and keep the original IBC base underneath, as it's going to help support the tank and keep it off the ground. But for us, we're just reusing what we have. So it's going straight on the ground after we've leveled it using some crusher dust. I had some leftover gravel from leveling the site, so I did spread some on inside the tank to help compensate that uneven molding on the bottom. And then what I've done is I've cut my Waterups cells to fit inside. Now only 2 of the Waterups cells remained uncut. I had to trim the corners from all 4 of the corner cells, and I had to cut 2 cells in half to create the center section. Everything was then screwed together using the rigid joiners. They do have other joiners that just press in, but I wanted that extra support. Honestly, this was one of those projects that simply did not want to be finished, and I bought the Waterups thinking that it was going to be an easy job. But my problem was more so nothing to do with the Waterups themselves, but more so to do with reusing my old IBCs. So the first tank was completely ready to go, and when testing the water levels, I realized I had a leak. A lot of the times these tanks, they're generally UV stable, but the taps themselves aren't, and they're the first things to crack and die. And that's what had happened. The actual tap had cracked, and sometimes you can get away with it by putting on an end cap, but unfortunately this was cracked all up the edge of the pipe, so there was no saving it. So we grabbed another one and this one was our old sump, and I don't know if it was the way that the sump was sitting on the ground, whether it had been distorted or what, but the molding was very different and the grooves around the edges were it made the interior a lot smaller, and I really didn't want to have to trim the cells more than I already have. Finally, the third tank worked. The tap was leaking slightly, but it wasn't cracked, so I was able to cap it off. And the last thing that happened was when I was fitting everything in place, I accidentally snapped off my overflow pipe. At that point, I just wanted this project finished, so I shoved in a 13mm grommet into the hole and called it an overflow. So it seems to be working pretty well, but time will tell. So from here, I've just filled up all of my wells with Perlite, just a medium grade Perlite that I brought from a hydroponic store. And I'll also be using this in my soil mix. Normally, when using the Waterups cells, you don't need that layer of geofabric to cover the reservoir. However, because I've cut and modified the cells, I wanted to make sure that no soil would be falling into the reservoir itself. So I've added a sheet of geofabric. So that's the setup. Now the most important part is the soil mix. The soil mix needs to wick moisture effectively without becoming too waterlogged. So you can buy specialized wicking bed mixes. But after a bit of experimentation, this is the combo that works for me. I do 1 part Perlite, 1 part CocoCoir, which I get from a hydroponic store because it's better quality than the other stuff. 2 parts of compost, and for this bed I used a combination of mushroom compost, Searles 5-in-1, and some of my homemade compost, and then 2 parts of garden soil or a basic potting mix. For this I had to fill up 360 litres, so I had 60 litres of Perlite, 60 litres of CocoCoir, 120 litres of the compost, and 120 litres of garden soil. So I just reused some soil from the old wicking bed that I'm pulling down. As with all my garden beds, I top everything off with my own goodie mix. Since this bed I'll be planting out with onions, I've added a bit of extra blood and bone for this one, and I've watered it all in. When it comes to managing your wicking bed, there are a few things that I've learned over the years. Obviously, new seedlings will need watering from the top to be established, but where possible, it's best if you water via the inlet pipe. Allow the reservoir to drain occasionally, so don't always keep it continuously topped up. Mulching is incredibly important. If anything, I would go way more than you normally do on your regular garden beds just to help with that evaporation. If you don't want to constantly be adjusting your soil, use the chop and drop method to help get that organic matter deep into the soil. So in terms of how often I'm filling the reservoir during winter, if it's not raining like it has been this year, I generally only need to fill the reservoir once every couple of weeks. During summer, depending on what's growing, it usually increases to once or twice a week. So things like corn, for instance, I usually have to do twice a week. Also, a little setup tip. Make sure your overflow pipe is somewhere where your inlet pipe is so you can see it, so when you know when to stop filling up. So that's our wicking bed area done. I'm pulling down all of the remaining raised beds around the edges, and I plan on covering these to make them look a lot nicer. In a few years of experimenting and fixing a few mistakes and finally getting right, but hopefully those tips will help you decide whether or not a wicking bed is for you and whether or not you want to go down that path. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.